Hello, everybody, and welcome to another IATEFL Live. We're coming to you from all over the UK, I think, today. I'm Sean, and today we've got a fairly packed programme for you as we're going to look through a few things and bring you up to date with what's happening in IATEFL. I hope you're all well and ready to join us. And if you're joining us on the recording later on, hi, welcome. Sorry you couldn't make us live, but glad you could watch the recording. And if you have a question for us, then do drop it into the comments. Welcome to those of you on Facebook, and welcome to those of you who have now joined us on YouTube as well. So IATEFL Live is a monthly broadcast where we try and bring you up to date with what's happening in IATEFL. And today we're going to be meeting the two of the new IATEFL ambassadors. But before we get into talking to them, let's bring John in. Hi, John. How you doing?
Hello, Sean. Hi, everybody. Lovely to see you all again. And thanks for joining us.
And so, John, you're going to bring us up to date with what's going on IATEFL, I think?
I am indeed. And if I can encourage everybody to have a look, I'm just going to share my screen here to have a look at our website and go to the events page. And you will see there's so much happening at the moment. I just had a quick look myself, and we've got no less than 7 webinars and online events happening between now and the end of the year, as well as 2 face-to-face events. And perhaps one of the bigger ones of that is the Business English Special Interest Group annual conference, which is happening in Gdansk in Poland this year on the weekend of the 10th and the 11th of November. And online booking is still open for that. So anybody interested, the booking deadline for that is now the 4th of November. So please go to the website. You'll find out all about that event and all the other online events going on between now and Christmas. And of course, into the new year. And in the new year, perhaps the biggest event is the annual IATEFL conference, which in 2023, we're excited to be going back to the beautiful, beautiful town of Harrogate in Yorkshire in the United Kingdom. And that's happening between the 18th and the 21st of April next year. You can go to the website now and find out all about it. You can book your place. People can go for a single day, for 2 days, or for the whole event. And the day before the conference starts, there are a wide range of pre-conference events also being organised by our special interest groups. So lots and lots happening during that week. Go and have a look at the website, and you should be able to find out more. Sean, I'll stop doing my plug of the IATEFL events now.
Well, no, I mean, obviously the Harrogate conference is coming up, and if those of you who know our we say it's coming up, it might feel like it's a long way away for you in the audience, but you wouldn't amount the amount of time that's already been spent in IATEFL talking about the program. And I imagine when we have our next live stream on the 23rd of November, we'll be able to tell you who the plenary speakers are and things like that about it. And as I was saying, if you do follow the IATEFL, the monthly streams, then obviously once we get to January, the streams will be conference orientated, and we'll bring you lots more information about the conference as we run up to April and Harrogate. I do like going to Harrogate. It's always a good venue.
It's such a beautiful town as well as a lovely actual venue itself.
I always like it because it's just one of because the venue is based in the town. Everybody. It's basically IATEFL takes over Harrogate for.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know.
Well, I guess the locals might see different, but when we stand there correcting their English. But anyway, but we'll get into IATEFL conference live streams in a while. So this live stream, and then next month we are going to be meeting the IATEFL ambassadors. If you're not sure what we mean by the IATEFL ambassadors, they've existed in IATEFL for a while, but they've recently been reviewed and relaunched, and they were relaunched this year. And the ambassador plan is part of our drive to build basically brand awareness of who IATEFL is, what we do, and the benefits of working with them and joining IATEFL. So a number of people are selected to be ambassadors, and they're invited to take that role for a minimum period of 12 months. And we've recently appointed the first 4, and there are many people hopefully to come on that as we develop the program. So today we thought we'd introduce you to them. which I feel a bit weird about saying, because they say introduce you to people there who are actually very well known in English language teaching, but we want to introduce you to them in the role of ambassadors. And also, I thought it was a great excuse to bring back and start bringing back the IATEFL live team in preparation. So I'm not going to be doing the talking on this one. I'm going to hand over to Georgia. I'm thinking of up and coming events. I would mark your card for November the 5th, Georgia.
That is correct, yes.
The IATEFL monthly webinar, so the November webinar, the presenter of that is Georgia. And I have to say, without any bias, Georgia is one of the most amazing presenters you will see. So come and or sign up for that webinar when you get the information for it. But now we'll hand over to her and let you take you through the main part of the live stream. If you do have any questions, or if you want to interact with us, do put them into the Facebook or the YouTube comments, and we can see them in the room. So Georgia, over to you.
Thank you very much, Sean. Thank you very much, John, as well. I'm now really looking forward to our next IATEFL conference in Harrogate. So thank you very much for that. So hello, everyone, and welcome to IATEFL Live. I'm really excited today because we are joined by Sandy Millin and George Pickering, two of our IATEFL ambassadors. And even though Sean explained what IATEFL ambassadors is, I know what you're thinking. So what do we really mean by IATEFL ambassadors? So in this live, we'll find out all about that today. But first of all, let's welcome Sandy and George. So welcome to IATEFL Live.
Hello.
Thank you. Hello.
Thank you very much for joining us today. So for anyone who's not familiar with your work, let's start with a little bit of introduction. Sandy, let's start with you. Can you tell us a few things about you and your work?
Yeah. So I'm a freelance teacher trainer. I'm a blogger. I've been blogging for a number of years. I also do some methodology writing, and I'm doing some editing now. I've only been freelancing for about a year. Before that, I spent many years working for International House in different countries. And the last place that I worked was 6 years as the Director of Studies in Bydgoszcz in Poland, so mostly in Central Europe. Yeah.
Lovely, thank you. And George, what about you?
I think I want to start by saying that I was a teacher for a number of years in North Africa as well as in England before moving into teacher training and management. At the moment, I'm a kind of portfolio worker. Like Sandy, I'm a freelance person. As I think you know, Georgia, I'm a British Council inspector in the UK. I also run leadership and management courses. One of those is the Deltum with English UK in the UK. And I'm also someone who tries wherever he can to help in the development of teachers, teacher trainers, and leaders in language teaching.
Lovely. And George, how did your IATEFL journey begin?
I was trying to think about this, and I can't remember the first date, as it were, and the music that was playing in the restaurant. I think it was more about joining the ELT management SIG. And I do remember writing an article on the basis of a talk I'd given at the annual conference a long time ago. And then I became a member of that committee, of that SIG, and then other things followed.
I see. And Sandy, what about you?
I started because I was watching Twitter. I joined Twitter in 2011 because of Sean, actually. And not long after I joined, it was the IATEFL Brighton conference in 2011. And I sat on Twitter watching everybody tweet from IATEFL Brighton, and I was super jealous. So I was like, I want to be there. I want to go and see all of those talks. So I applied for a scholarship. And I got a scholarship, which I didn't realize quite how lucky I was at that point in time. So I went to my first conference in 2012. And then since then, I've been on the membership and marketing committee, and I'm now on the materials writing SIG committee. So I've been a member of IATEFL for over 10 years now. And it all started because I was watching Twitter and just being super jealous.
I say it's the influence of social media, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about your new role as IATEFL ambassadors. George, what does it mean to be an IATEFL ambassador?
Well, firstly, it's a great privilege to be an IATEFL ambassador, with I think a capital A, because I think we are all ambassadors of IATEFL, small a. For me, as has already been said earlier, I think by Sean, we're there to help promote the association through the channels that are available to us. So Sandy, obviously as a blogger, she can use that to promote the association. I can do it by talking at conferences and, when I'm inspecting and other things. So firstly, I think we're there to promote the association. We're certainly there to help to grow the association. So we want people to join. At the same time, we want them to go up what I would like to call the ladder of involvement. So if they are members, we would like them to become even more active members. So for example, if they're a member of SIG, then, we want to encourage them to play an active role in that SIG, maybe writing an article for a newsletter or a blog post, also maybe perhaps helping put on a conference, either, where they are locally or perhaps something connected to the conference like the PCE. So I think there's a whole range of ways in which we can promote, encourage, coach, and to a certain extent coax people to play a more active role in the association.
Lovely. And Sandy, how can someone watching from home, for example, be an active member of the IATEFL community?
Yeah, so even something as small as writing a comment on the live stream right now, like little things like joining in the conversation, I think, because IATEFL is for the members, but it's also by the members. Like all of us in these roles, for example, are volunteering. And so it's shaped by the people that are involved. So if you want it to do something for you, then you need to push in that direction yourself, in a way, if that makes sense. So for example, people often talk about the fact there are a lot of events in Europe, but there can only be events in other places if people in those areas are willing to set them up and start them and create those connections, for example. So it can be as small as I say as writing a comment, or as George mentioned, like writing a blog post, writing an article either for the SIG or for the IATEFL blog, the IATEFL newsletter for Voices. It could be about giving a presentation at the conference, but that's only a small part of it. It could be giving a webinar, for example, or it could just be, for example, having a watch party with people at your school, for example. Pick a webinar from the past and watch the webinar together and discuss it together. There are lots of different things that are available on the IATEFL website. It's not just the live things, but there's also a big archive of voices, of conference selections with the papers from previous conferences, of the webinar recordings. So there's a lot of potential material there that you could use for development by yourself or with other people, all connected to what the members of IATEFL have made available to the other members, basically.
Lovely. Well, as an IATEFL member myself, I have been really inspired by both your work, Sandy, with your blog and your comments on lesson observations, and George, by your passion about mental health, for example, and your sessions on it. I have been really inspired myself. But what has inspired you in the IATEFL community? George, let's start with you.
I think one thing that inspires me is that it helps people to act both locally and globally. Because if you think about the broad IATEFL family, it includes all the associates that we've got. Over 120 other teacher associations are in a kind of global partnership with us. And that means that our reach is much wider than it would be if we were just a single association working on our own. And I've been inspired over the years by the number of people working in extremely challenging contexts who have managed to not only help develop themselves, but help develop their peers and their colleagues through being members of teacher associations. So that's what really inspires me. For me, it's the little things that people do rather than the big things. It's the small steps that we take together that make the difference. I mean, one of my favorite, quotations is the one that says, alone we can do so little, together we can do so much. And that sums up to me what IATEFL is about.
It's lovely, yes. And Sandy, what about you?
Yeah, I think I would second a lot of what George says. I often find that when I'm at the conference, the things that inspire me are the challenging situations that people have gone through in order to be able to come to the conference, or the fact that people are trying to present for the first time, for example. Like it's can be a scary experience for people presenting, and it inspires me that people are so willing to try because they have things to say and they want to share that. And I think that willingness to share and that willingness to learn from each other, I think, is constantly inspiring.
Can I give you an example? I was privileged to go to a conference in Nepal a few years ago. And when we arrived at the venue, I just happened to say that I saw the wall that we were going to project, the PowerPoints on was looking just a little gray. And I made this point. And the next morning when I went back into the hall, I thought I noticed that the color had changed. So I turned to the vice president of NELTA at the time and I said, has that wall changed? And he said, yes. And I said, why? And he said, well, you said it was looking a bit grubby. And I said, well, what's happened? And he said, well, last night I repainted it.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah.
I like stories like that so much. Which brings me actually to my next question. What would you say is your proudest moment in IATEFL and in your IATEFL journey? Sandy, what do you think?
I was really proud of getting the IATEFL blog started. So when I was on the membership and marketing committee, we were thinking more about how to reach out to the members and how to allow more members to participate actively within IATEFL. And now I think the blog's been going for maybe 5 or 6 years now. I don't know, I've lost track now. And so I'm not involved in it anymore. I was just involved in the first couple of years, but trying to create some kind of consistency of standards. What do we want to see on the blog? Trying to reach out to people who wouldn't normally have written, supporting people to write a blog post for the first time, and just enabling people again to share their stories in different ways. I think that's probably one of my proudest moments from IATEFL.
And George, what about you?
I think when I think of IATEFL, I think of 3 C's. I think about collaboration, I certainly think of community, and I also think of cooperation. And I think for me, my proudest moments of things that I've done in cooperation and collaboration with others. So a couple of them, I know a few years ago, we came up with an IATEFL leadership program for IATEFL associates. And that was with Lou McLaughlin, who many of you know as an ex-trustee of IATEFL. And another one was co-editing a book of the best of Sikhs publications, and that was with Vicky Samuel. So for me, IATEFL is all about the cooperation.
That's absolutely right. Now, I think that we can definitely witness this every year when we go to the IATEFL conference. Is that the case? Lovely. So is there anything in particular that you're keen to see in IATEFL in the next years?
One thing, Georgia, is I understand you're doing a talk on November the 5th. Are you going to promise us fireworks?
Well, not real ones, but I certainly hope so.
Okay.
That is correct, yes.
I think one of the things that I mentioned before, so I recently read the history of IATEFL, which is freely available to anybody that wants to read it. Like you can read it through the membership area, and it was fascinating to see how it's grown over the last 58 years. I can't remember what we're up to now, 56 years, and to see how it developed from being a TEFL to IATEFL. And I think what would be interesting over the next few years is to see it become that much more international. So we're, again, I mentioned already, like events in different places, but I think the fact that we are able to kind of leverage the online space so much more and have the online conferences, have these lives, for example, use social media, I think that means that we can create much more of an international community. It's always been international to some extent, but in some ways, in some cases, it's been a bit Eurocentric. So trying to even out or balance out the voices from around the whole world, I think, and having that within IATEFL, I think would be great.
I would just like to second that. I'd like us to continue to be even more inclusive and diverse and give voice to an even bigger range of teachers and other English language teaching professionals. George, you've already mentioned that at the moment, one of my focuses is on the whole issue of teacher well-being, manager well-being, and I would like to see that trend continued. I think when we're in associations like IATEFL, it's very easy to get caught up with the importance of well-doing. So in other words, we seem to be helping people to become better at doing their jobs, perhaps becoming more productive, for example. But I think one of the things that has come out of the pandemic is the importance of us all thinking about well-being, not just students, but also staff, including, of course, teachers. And sometimes I think people have to put themselves first so they can continue to have the positive mental health, which will allow them to be the teachers today, tomorrow, and into the future.
I was really interested to read Sarah Mercer's book on mental health in the ELT industry, focusing on the ELT staff members. And it was really interesting because you could see that was something that was missing. We all knew that existed, but it was something that was missing, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think Sarah's plenary from a few years ago, I think that opened a lot of people's eyes as well. I mean, again, that's another thing that that's still available to watch. You can watch past plenaries from IATEFL, for example, and I definitely recommend watching Sarah Mercer's plenary from, I can't remember what year it was in, maybe 5 years ago. And Sarah's one of the other ambassadors as well.
Lovely. So are there any 2023 projects that you're involved with? Just give us a sneak preview of what you've got in place.
I'm heavily involved at the moment in putting together a program which is going to be about purposive leadership and management in language teaching. And I want to do a survey about this to find out, more about purpose-driven associations and organizations. And the way that I'm persuading myself and making sure that I do this is because I put it in as a proposal for IATEFL next year. And having made that public commitment and having, I hope, finding my way into the program, that will just give me that little extra kick to make sure that I get things done before the Harrogate conference.
Well, the session is recorded.
So there's no way out now.
No, sorry. And Sunny, what about you?
I think I have slightly more leeway on mine because I'm hoping that this will be my IATEFL talk in 2024. But I'm doing my MA dissertation at the moment, and so I'm creating a competency framework for materials writing, because there are frameworks that exist for managers and for teacher educators and for teaching, but there isn't one for materials writing. So that's kind of my big project at the moment. So, and that also involves research, but I'm hoping to be able to publicize that later on and to be able to share that with the wider community for ELT as well.
Oh, wonderful. So this is something that we've done in our live shows at the IATEFL conference, and I would like to do this with you today as well. And this will really be the last question of the day. Can you please describe IATEFL in one word?
I think lots of the words that George has used already, probably, but I think the biggest one is community for me.
And George, what would yours be?
Believe it or not, Sandy, I was going to say community, but
Yeah.
then I was thinking I'm not going to be restricted to one word in such a diverse association. So I'll go back to cooperation, collaboration, and community.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so very much for joining us today. I'm really excited to speak to both of you, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So why take one word when four will do, eh, George?
Yeah.
Thank you both for that. And of course, I think diversity was a good word as you started that as well. Number of things you had me searching through things there. Yes, Sandy's right. You can find plenaries. You should be able to find plenaries either on our YouTube channel or in our Facebook page for it. The history of IATEFL, you're right, is available. You can find it on the IATEFL website. You can actually also find it on other websites as well. And there is a digital copy on ISU actually, if you want to find a digital copy. It is a very interesting one. It was written for the anniversary a couple of years ago now, but there it is. Oh well, brilliant, Sandy. It's there for you. It is good.
It's surprisingly interesting.
once you've read through it, Sandy, if you've read through it all, then you need to speak to Georgia again, because Georgia actually, as part of the live shows that we did in Belfast, she was setting trivia questions based on the history. So there's a number of videos.
Oh, no, don't test me on it.
So I can test you.
She's done her research on that one. There are some really interesting things when, like, the first time things happened and what the first special interest groups were, and this the other. I know from the learning technology SIG, which is the one I was in the most. I think how we evolved as well, and those kind of things are really, really interesting. And of course the blog got mentioned a few times. There's for it, you can find the blog on iatefl.org. It's kind of, if you go to the news and views, you can see the blog post there for it, and I have the link at hand, and of course what do? I turn off my other screen and it differs, but we'll drop a link into the comments in a moment, so you can see the blog posts are quite regular. You'll see them following webinars and bringing different news and views from members, etc. And I might as well say, if you want to actually write for the blog, you can also do that, and you can find out how to do that and join in there. And I'm sure Syke, who looks after it, and the membership committee who look after it now, would be more than welcome to hear somebody wanting to post in about that. Oh, thank you. I guess that's John behind the scenes putting in the link that I couldn't find. So thank you very much for that. So thanks for keeping me on my toes there with a few links to find, Sandy and George. Very very much appreciate that, and thank you both for your time and everything. And you have to give George full marks. If you do go to conference, then you'll know that every year we have something that we sell for to try and bring funds for projects, etc. So you can see behind Georgie's head, he's got the teddy bears. So he's actually
Okay.
So he's got the teddy bears. He's got the cup. I'm not sure if I saw the pens or anything coming out, but he is a master there of the branding. Whereas Sandy, of course, is featuring a nice IATEFL Ambassador badge as well. So bravo for the branding efforts there for both of you. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm going to drop you out the stream now. Georgia, thanks of course for everything. We'll see you again, and we'll good luck with your webinar on November the 5th. If you are a member of IATEFL, you will get the information about joining that webinar. Look out for the information on social media if you're not. And as I said, I thoroughly recommend Georgia's sessions. Our whole Georgia's path to us two working together started with a webinar, didn't it? I guess, because you spoke at the very first or my very first online conference, and we went from there from it. So I do recommend her webinar wholeheartedly, and we will be back on the 23rd of November in the live stream to meet the other two ambassadors. Evan and Sarah will be there, and as I said at the beginning, hopefully We'll also be able to give you some news on conference, tell you who the speakers are. And Sandy just told me off for clapping because I was clapping rather loud, so I do apologise if I deafened anybody wearing headphones. Remember, if you are watching on the recording, you do have a question, do drop us. You can drop lines in the comments, so we do keep watching the comments for the week after that, and we will reply to anything, any questions, etc. that you might have about that. Good luck with your Ambassador Big A work, George and Sandy. And we'll leave you just by reminding you of why being a member of IATEFL will or can help you professionally. I hope you enjoyed today's live stream. We'll see you again on the 23rd of November for the next one. Until then, see you next time.